Hey there, Hill folk, and welcome back to another episode of Appalachian Intelligence. We appreciate you guys so much for tuning in, checking us out, hanging out with us again. We really do appreciate you guys. We honestly do. I know that you guys have been, you Hill folk out there, have been sharing the show like crazy. Our numbers have been off the charts, growing, and for that, we're super thankful. Today, we've got another special guest and a friendly face. You guys, any of you Hill folk out there that's been following the show, you know this guy. You know his energy. You love his energy. This is the Pepper for Your Steak podcaster. Also, let's not forget the Dystopia Now podcaster. This guy has got so many irons in the fire right now at the moment. He's literally dropping new projects every single day. He's got a super awesome like coffee table book and artwork that he's releasing. It's up for sale. He can talk about that some. I'm going to let him push his own stuff. And hold up. I mean, we're talking the Mozart of EDM. Literally, the Mozart of EDM. And he has just had a long awaited sequel to one of the greatest 80s films of all time come out, Top Gun Maverick. With us today, folks.
That's $1 for that reference.
The man, the myth, the legend, Maverick Mathews. Maverick, what's up, buddy?
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me back on. Listen, do you guys have a name for your audience yet?
Yeah,
how do I address your audience? How do I address them?
It's Hill folk.
Dude, forgive my ignorance. Hill folk, thank you for having me back. Thank you for your attention and indulgence. It's wonderful to be back here.
It's great.
I'm really excited to be back here, man. Thank you.
Yeah, we're happy to have you back, brother. This has been a long time coming. You know, I know that we talk quite a bit, not as much as we should, but we talk quite a bit off of the show. And I mean, you've became a really great friend to the show and to me. And for that, I appreciate it. You know, we talk on here all the time about building the tribe. And dude, you were kind of the foundation of that for us and for this show. You were the first guest besides Ryan's dad, who we greatly appreciate him coming on. You know, that was a fun time. But, you know, guys, Maverick was the first real person that I reached out to and was like, yeah, I'll come on and talk. And I was like, wait, what? Like, seriously? You know, we're nobodies, right? Like we're nobodies. But he graciously came on. He gave me the confidence to just shoot the shot on whatever guest that I found interesting out there and wanted to bring on and have a conversation with. And he is the first Triple Crown 3-time returning champ.
Oh shit
on Appalachian Intelligence.
Well, let's not disrespect your true first guest. You could say that I was the true guest of any notoriety, but like I was probably number 2 technically. So let's not do any disrespect to our elders here. You know what I mean? But I do appreciate it, man. And look, this entire human experience is about paying it forward. It really is. And this has been underlined to me so hard in the last 6 months. It's really about paying it forward, you know? So thank you. Because guess what? Y'all may blast past me. It's not outside the realm of possibility. Y'all doing well. So just don't forget your little friends in the past now.
Hey, look.
No way.
The tribe runs together.
Yes.
We run together.
We've already been talking about planning a powwow coming up. You know, you got to have Maverick.
Fucking hey, dude. We're gonna. You know what? There's a lot of meetups in our future because Meet Space is the space, and we're all lucky to be living in an era where the internet exists and we can find each other. But it's about the finding, and the real deep relationships are made over, you know, horns of ale. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's for real, man. That's historical. That's how it's done. And until we have real disagreements in meat space and we give each other a hard time and we say, "Arr," you know, and then we come back to the understanding of why we did it in the first place. This also has been underlined to me so hard lately. If someone's not in front of you, it's real easy to see to mischaracterize them and to not see all the elements that make up that person. And look at the way people treat each other online, man. It's horrible.
It is. You're right.
But it goes the opposite too. To really see someone, they have to be in front of you. So I really look forward to that in the future, man.
Oh yeah. Well, especially, I mean, dude, this treehouse compound that you've been building and working on and got up there, dude, I've got to come check that out.
Well, so I have an announcement to make because I'm a little ashamed of this. I have mixed feelings about it. I am back on Instagram, _real_ Maverick Mathews. Unfortunately, the reason I left the platform in the first place was I found a few copycat sites, and I think I'm only up to like 1,300 followers. I'm not some like fancy Instagram dude. That was never my thing. I've always been averse to the promotion of yourself digitally, but it's the world we live in. And so I actually left the platform because there were not just one, but at least 3 sites pretending to be me with my name, and my friends were following them. And they were some of them were just retweeting what I did, but I was like, I don't know. These are bots. I don't know what this is. The platform wouldn't give me a check mark. And the check mark, it originally existed so that people could know the difference between the original article and a bot. That's why the check mark was even invented in the beginning. So when people started pretending to be you as a celebrity or whatever, you could know who the real one was. Well, I brought this up to Instagram and I said, hey, I don't know who the fuck these sites are, but they're not me and my friends are following them. And that creeps me out. And they're like, well, we're not going to do anything about it. So I said, well, I'm going to leave the platform. And I'd left for about 2 years. And once my following grew to a certain level, I was like, well, if you can't beat them, join them. So instead of trying to ignore, whatever goofiness they were doing, I said, well, I'm going to master that medium. I'm going to learn the rules of the game. I'm not going to pretend the game doesn't exist. I'm going to move into the game and I'm going to master the game. So I'm no pro on Instagram. I still wear my heart on my sleeve. I still post things that are a little bit cringy because they're overly honest, but I'm fine with that. And that's what I do, man. I post stuff that's a little cringy sometimes. And I've learned to accept that because I am trying to create an authentic article. And I do believe that in the long run, my authenticity is what will separate me and us from the field.
And the truth will set you free, right? I mean, it's an age-old saying.
That's it, man. But it's hard to know what that means in the modern era because the modern era is so fucking weird and crazy, It's hard to know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm back on Instagram. So if you want to see pictures of this crazy treehouse, they're on there. I'll be sharing more. And eventually, my goal one day is to open it up as a retreat so that people can come stay here. And y'all will be some of the first people I have out here free on my dime. Once I have the buildings and the places, for people to be in, this will be a place where we come and commune and think about fucking space and getting past the platitudes. And it will, I want to create an artistic salon where art ideas can truly be exchanged, much like Hunter Thompson did in his living room,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
well, I think that's huge. That's huge. I mean, just like you were talking about earlier, you don't really know someone. You don't know someone until you have those face-to-face encounters, until, my spirit can interact with your spirit when we can really sit down and hash these things out. It's like, I mean, we've known each other digitally for months.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious what that was like 6-8 months. Is it that long or is it shorter? It just feels
February, end of January, February. Yeah,
it's been 6-7 months.
Yeah,
which is nothing in the grand scheme of things.
Oh no.
But in the modern world, that's millennia.
Yeah, it's a lot.
We've went months and been completely cordial and friendly and loving to each other, and we haven't fallen out over anything. It's crazy. We can have conversations. Hey, look, guys, I'm not even playing here. Like, on the show, I'm not going to debate anybody on the show, but off of the show, me and Maverick have had some pretty intense conversations, and we don't always agree. I know that sounds crazy, but we don't always agree. And guess what? I love him just as much today as I did when he told me, yes, I'll come on your show, which was big love, big love. But I mean, that's the thing. And that's why, that's why what you're doing is important. That's why this show is important. That's why it's important to have, to build the tribe, to have these meet spaces, to do all these different things so you can show the populace out there that you don't have to agree on everything. You don't have to agree. You can have these hard conversations. You can have different viewpoints of society, of culture, of religion, of, whatever, of politics. You can have these different views. It doesn't mean that you don't believe what I believe, so I hate you. That's the most ridiculous concept. And how we got to that point as a society is mind-boggling to me. And I know that it's been constructed, and I know that, the powers that be, pulling on the strings in the background behind the curtain has set a lot of this stuff up. But we have, you hear about the Great Awakening all the time. And I believe that a huge portion of the people, of we the people, I believe they're starting to wake up. But you still have so many people that just, well, you don't believe what I believe, so I hate you. Don't talk to me. You're blocked. You're done. You're out of my life. It's just, it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Well, the Socratic Dialectic is. Oh, sorry, brother. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
The Socratic Dialectic is something worth looking into, and it references the idea that, the best way to have a debate is from differing opinions. And, here's the thing. You know who doesn't want to have a debate? Someone who can't defend their position eloquently and in a graceful way. And it is your job as a human being to determine what you stand for, not just because you believe it, but because you've picked it apart in every single component in such a way that you can defend your position. You can not only defend your position, you can become so seductive with your position that you can cause other people to abandon their position and come to yours. I promise you this, in every belief that I have, look at me, I'm doing like the Obama finger. In every belief that I have, if you come to me and you make a seductive argument, and I mean this wholeheartedly, if you come to me and you make a seductive argument that actually counters all of my beliefs, and if I hear what you're saying and I believe what you're saying, and it's so well backed up, it's so well cited, it's so true within the resonance and the nature of the universe, I will abandon my belief and take yours. And I learned this from one of the podfathers, Joe Rogan, because he said that, and I said, you know what? That's a very interesting way to approach the nature of disagreement. Yeah. Convince me. I want you to convince me. And the reason they want us to become so diametrically opposed to even discussing things is because the true way of this world is easily supported, and it comes with a close observation of what happens in the natural world. And if you can articulate that well, then you can easily convince people that injecting things into their body when they don't know what they are is a bad idea. That adopting methodologies for society that hurt people instead of benefit them are a bad idea. That taking away a person's personal sovereignty and just making them obey is a bad idea. These are easy arguments to make, but if you're not even willing to have the discussion, you'll never come to the true conclusion. And that's why they want to take away the nature of the dialectic, the nature of the discussion. So,
yeah, well, I mean, you see it so often now. I mean, so many people are just regurgitating,
parroting.
Yeah, that's all they're doing. Like, there's no, if you actually ask these people, intellectual questions based on, okay, then why do you say this? Why do you believe what you believe? There's not an answer. Well, because everybody else is saying this. So everybody else has got a Ukraine flag in their profile. So I'm going to too. Like, I mean, it's time. It is way past time for people to become individuals again and realize that you have the power to bring joy, to bring happiness, to bring compassion, to bring love, to be this stopgap in between all the hate and the divide and all of these things. And just love, man, just love. What was it? Arthur Unk was on here and he was talking about, all these rules that he had in the Church of Unk. And at the end of it, and I said, one more commandment, just love everybody, regardless.
And guys, if we take human history, with the exception of the last 175 years, all great problems have been solved. All great inventions have taken place. All great societal advancements have all started with conversation and people just trying to figure out problems and bouncing ideas off each other. You go all the way back to Galileo and his things he was fighting for and coming up with. It was completely counter to what was being taught at the time, but he wasn't backing down. He continued to do so. You can see all these points all throughout history, with the exception of the last 50, 75 years, however you want to look at it. There's always been an advancement made, a societal advancement made, an evolution of society for the better, because people just had conversations and have argued about things and have talked about things and have figured out ways around problems and have figured out how to water their plants, and set up irrigation systems and on and on and on and on and on as society has progressed. And we've stopped that. We've gotten to the point now, because of political views or polarizing people that are force feeding us information all the time, that we have become so distant from just having these types of conversations that when we don't hear what we want to hear, or we don't hear what we like, or we don't hear what we're being force fed all the time, we just shut everything off, because that's not how I think, and that's not what that they told me to believe, and that's not what I see everything that I'm following, and so can't be right, because it's not what how I see the world. And that's not how things get fixed. That's not how problems get solved. And it's not how society continues to advance. It actually causes things to regress. That's exactly what has taken place. You take COVID, for example, right? And all go back to that moment. We all remember when they shut things down. And what a regression that we had as a society just from a normal conversation with people. Teach high school kids. It is just now. It has been 3 years, 2 years. They are just now to a point that they are able to interact and communicate with each other, because we had to take their cell phones away from them this year. We had to take some of their devices away to force them to sit in the classroom and have those awkward conversations, right? And have those moments of, hey, I think she's pretty, or I think he's hot, but I don't want to say anything. And all those things, those teenage angst things that we dealt with and went through, they can't deal with those things. And they haven't been able to deal with those things. And now we're putting those people out in society and expecting them to fix problems and expecting them to better society and make it a better advancement to it. And because they're not having conversations, and because they're not dealing with problems, and because they're not arguing and disagreeing, but still loving each other, we see a regression of things.
It's so true, man. And you know what it all boils down to? It boils down to teaching people to be conflict avoidant and to overvalue comfort.
Yeah.
Because discomfort is where true solutions, I'm doing that fucking Obama finger again. Discomfort is where true solutions are found. It gets uncomfortable to have to debate things. It gets uncomfortable to have to question what you've done forever because you're comfortable. This comes into every facet of human life. They have taught us, and this is very intentional, just stay comfortable. We'll handle the tricky stuff. You don't need to engage. Get on your phone. Look at some fancy.
Yeah.
And that'll keep you busy while we handle the serious stuff. Because our overlords really do want us to clock out and defer to authority. And the most hideous and heinous version of this is happening with children. Look at what's happening with Project Veritas right now. They're uncovering all this indoctrination that's happening in the school system. All these administrators are admitting, yes, we're indoctrinating children as early as kindergarten to not believe in any kind of moral code, any kind of gender, any kind of anything, and just accept whatever goes. Well, guess what? That all has to do with comfort, because it's uncomfortable to have to take up your burden of responsibility and learn how to carry it. But that's what we're supposed to do. And that's what you're supposed to teach, right?
Yeah.
And it's a lot more comfortable to get on your phone and look at some fancy pictures of asses. You know, that's an instant gratification. We have become seduced with instant gratification. So we need to abandon these platitudes, because this is we're talking about some stuff that everybody knows, and let's get into some nasty specific stuff. What is it that y'all want to get in tonight? Because one of the things I have noticed that's really beautiful and is sweeping our country is that people are starting to have the conversations like we're having right now. Everyone knows this stuff, and they're going to go, we know. What do we do? What do we do? Let's figure out let's solve some world issues here, baby. The turn of the frog's gay, Joe Rogan. Let's get into some stuff, man. What do y'all want to talk about tonight?
Well, let's stay on that for a second. What are some of the solutions that Maverick Mathews thinks? I know you're giving a couple right there.
Give me a problem, baby.
About taking that burden of responsibility, but
how do we get people to believe, Maverick, and understand that like there aren't 47,000 genders?
That's a great question. Great question.
How do we get to the point where we get back? Like when I grew up, like when I was growing up, there was no concept of it was boy and girl. That's just the way it was.
That's right.
Right. Well, how do we get back to that?
How do we exit the madness when it comes to? Let's just talk about gender for a minute. This is good. That's a great question. My humble opinion is that we, as individuals and as human beings, do not get to decide what this reality is. It is our job to observe Mother Nature and learn what this reality is. And so the fundamental problem with gender is the idea that you get to decide. That's heinous. And if you're coming at it from the Christian perspective, that's original sin. You getting to decide what has already been laid out in front of you. Now, I'm not a Christian. I'm exceptionally spiritual, though, and I was brought up in the Christian, from the Christian perspective. And I know that most of Western America resonates with that. And so that's one of the reasons I use this as a tool to explain. But outside of the dogma of religion, it is my opinion that you can go into nature and observe nature, and nature has the answers for you. Okay? You crash land people on a desert island, you're going to watch them revert into gender roles real quick.
Yeah.
Okay? You're going to watch them revert into gender roles real quick. You know why we have all this abundance to indulge Zims? Because Mongols aren't coming over the wall. And the minute they are, all that shit goes out the window, and people start going, who's in charge of what? Mother Nature knows the answer to these things. And guess what? Procreation happens between a man and a woman, period. And when you start tinkering with that system, all you add is chaos to that system. Now, I'm not trying to insult anybody. I understand the nature of confusion. I've been confused. I'm not pretending to have definitive answers. What I'm saying is I do believe Mother Nature has definitive answers for us. And when you go and observe nature, it's pretty obvious how things happen. And nature is unforgiving. And so we don't have to take responsibility for that unforgiving component. That unforgiving component comes from the nature of the world. A lot of people have trouble eating meat because they want to make things nice and pretend that's not how the world is. You didn't create that system, so you don't have to take responsibility for it. You didn't create the genders, so you don't have to take responsibility for the fact that that's how they are. So how do we bring people back to the concept of two genders? We strip them of their ego, because ego is the only thing that allows you to come in and say, I decide. Mother Nature doesn't decide. It's not my biological component. It's not the XY chromosomes that decide what is a gender. I decide. That's all ego. So we put people in positions where their ego is stripped. Fortunately, as a species, we have a lot of things at our command that can do this. MDMA therapy strips you of your ego immediately. You get somebody on psychedelics, strips you of your ego pretty immediately. Now, these aren't answers that we can apply in a rote way to the entire system. This is why it's so tricky. But you have to put people in an environment where they truly strip themselves of their ego so they see things with clarity. You know what happens to every human being in the course of their life where they're exposed to this? The death of someone close to them. The minute somebody close to you dies, you go, man, I've been taking the wrong things too seriously. Now, is that an experience we can simulate? Yes. This is why the Greeks perfected drama so that you could experience a tragedy and not have to live one. It is absolutely within the bounds of our reality to be able to create experiences for people in a responsible way that strip them of their ego and force them to look at things on a deeper level. Now, are we going to be able to facilitate this planet-wide? It's highly unlikely. But the way that we do it is by doing it within our tribal structure, and we demonstrate what a hero is instead of telling people what a hero is. We demonstrate to them what the right thing is instead of telling them what the right thing is.
I like that. You have
we
to
can't just get around people who are identifying as a variety of genders and line them up at a wall and just pull their pants down. That doesn't work.
So this is a really crazy thing, man. We have so many people who are quote unquote woke, and they're, you know, we now have a society which has facilitated puberty blockers. Why on earth would you want to meddle with a human being's biology in that way? We are normalizing the tinkering with the human animal in such a way that all these perversions are becoming normal.
Yeah.
We can't fight that, man. What you have to do is stick to the people in your tribe and focus on those around you, because madness is going to happen to the human condition. It happens. Why don't we know how to build the pyramids anymore? Because I believe things reached an apex that they had to be destroyed again for some reason. I think we've had multiple great resets over the course of human history. And I think it's because our ego has grown so powerful over and over and over. It's reached this kind of crescendo where it creates a kind of madness. The only way to fix it is to destroy it. Now, I'm not an advocate of destroying human society, but when it comes to telling, you know, advocating for children to destroy their own identity, the identity they're born with, the identity they're blessed with from Gaia, from nature, you can just throw that away? That's a fundamental kind of madness. Yeah, I don't know a way to fix that madness, to be honest, about answering your question, other than to abandon it.
I think we put DMT in the water supply of the world.
Did you guys ever see that article about that guy who worked for the Los Angeles Municipal Water Department, and he almost snuck like an insane amount of acid into the public water supply? This happened within the last 5 years, dude. And this almost really happened.
Oh my god!
If you Google this almost really happened in Los Angeles.
That would have been awesome.
It would have been the purge, but it would not have been good, I don't think. So to answer your question, I'm sorry I'm so verbose. That's just my nature. But to answer your question, I don't know that we as individuals can strip humanity of its ego. Humanity's ego is reaching a type of crescendo which is similar to madness. And only nature can strip that away. And that's a reset.
You think we're on a precipice of a reset?
Do you not?
I think we all have the same answer.
Everybody can feel this fucking wave coming. It's like we're surfers in the ocean going, I think there's a fucking tidal wave coming. Are we going to try to surf this? We're on surfboards. What else do we do? I think we try to surf this, but it doesn't seem good. I don't want to do this. Do you think we have a choice? We're in the ocean. I don't think we have a fucking choice. Well, you better learn to fucking grab your nuts and get up on that motherfucker. Because this shit's going forward, baby. And you can either have a positive attitude about being crushed by this fucking thing, or you can just get off that board and sink. It's over. Fuck it. Look, man, we got to be positive and find a way forward. I don't pretend to have answers, but I do pretend to say, look, we got a surfboard. Fucking control what you can control, and the rest of it, it's out of your control. So say, bless you. I hope the best for you, but one of the things I've really been wrestling with is the idea that people are on evolutionary paths within their own cosmic cycle. And if you try to influence them too much, you might fuck up their cosmic path. Like, what if there is a cycle of reincarnation? And what if these people are supposed to learn a lesson in this life? And by influencing them too much, you fuck up that lesson. I think when we dominate others, we fuck up that lesson. I think when we serve as an example to others, we give them everything we're capable of giving. So when it comes to children, ooh, man, I have a kiddo. I'm going through a horrific divorce right now. It is some serious Amber Heard Johnny Depp shit. And I would never wish this on anybody. If you watch that trial, you have a glimpse into my life. And it happened in Hollywood. And it happened in just as mentally ill a state. But I have a kid. That's the difference. They weren't arguing over a kid. They were arguing over her taking it in his bed. You know?
Yeah.
We put a kid's life. That's not a joke. How do we hold people accountable? I think we can all agree, especially when it comes to politicians, one of the biggest problems we're finding is that we don't know how to hold our leaders accountable. I don't necessarily have an answer for that because historically, over the course of time, the methodology that humans have always held others accountable is violence. And I don't want to promote violence, but we haven't evolved to a spiritual state where we can look at another person and say, let me force a serious psychological reckoning upon you. We might be at the tip of the iceberg in terms of psychedelics so that people really grasp the depth of their actions. You know, we're tiptoeing around that with ketamine therapy, with psychedelics, with MDMA. Honestly, if you've ever had an MDMA experience with pure, true MDMA, the kind that was legally available until 1987 from like GNC, the kind that was invented for marriage counseling, if you've ever had that experience where it strips your ego, the first thing it does is show you the mistakes you've made. And the first feeling you have is, man, I've been fucking up. I would wish this kind of ritual on our entire society. But I don't know how to facilitate that. You know?
I mean, I think it's something that you can't facilitate. You know, that's why, like you say, and just you have to be the example. You have to take that high road, and you have to, again, you just have to love regardless. I mean, yeah, it's madness. It's madness. I think in a lot of cases, it's a mental illness that it's a force-fed mental illness. But again, it all comes down to we have to love these people. You know, Jesus said, love your enemies. You have to. You know, these people, you know, a lot of them have done nothing to me personally. So they would be in that other Jesus category. He says, love your neighbor. That's what they are. So, I mean, we have to, I love that, you know, we have to show and be that example. We have to display what it looks like to be a grounded, logical, intellectual conversationist in all of these things. You know, we
listen. Let me build on this real quick.
Yeah,
let me build on this real quick. They have systematically deconstructed our gender roles. The way we fight that is by systematically reconstructing our gender roles. We systematically reconstruct them within our tribes.
Yep.
We demonstrate to people what it means to be a man and be the warrior, the monk, and the lover. And have women demonstrate what it means to be the princess, the crone. What's the third one? I'm not a woman, so I'm not like I don't. For me, this is like I'm remembering the stuff rather than resonating with it. I know what it is to be a man. I would never pretend to know what it is to be a woman. You see?
Yeah,
I'm only good at demonstrating what it means to be a man. I need to find a powerful woman who's good at demonstrating what it means to be a powerful woman. Let me break this down. Hold on. It's the princess, the crone, and the mother.
And the
obviously.
mother.
And the mother. Yeah, and the mother. Yeah. So we know the roles that people are supposed to have in society. And the way that we do it is by using the exact same methodology they have done to deconstruct them. How did they deconstruct gender roles? Well, the first thing they did was attack our moral code and believe that you could do whatever you want. How did they attack our moral code? Pornhub. That's the biggest bandwidth consumer on the internet. Who do you think pays for that? It's free. It's one of the largest bandwidth consumers on the entire internet. And guess what? When you're on Pornhub, do you think they're going to suggest less creepy shit to you? Or do you think they're going to suggest more creepy shit to you? This is a methodology by which they pervert society. This is fact. Yeah. And just mentioning it here puts us all at risk because we're dealing with the biggest demons on the block. People who suicide people.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And guess what? It's not fake. Someone pays for all that bandwidth, man. And the reason they put out these, hey, guess what the biggest perversion in every state is? And they're all different. Do you realize the mathematical unlikelihood that every state has a different perversion? That's so fucking unlikely. You know why? They just want to popularize perversion in general.
Yep.
Guess what? Everybody started spending time at home during the fucking lockdowns. And you know what they started promoting? Stepbrother, stepsister perversion.
Yep.
Everyone knows these narratives. And so how do we fight them? We study what they do and we flip the script on them. We do the exact opposite. This is why things like taking back conspiracy theory and rebranding it as counterculture, that's how we do it. We say, y'all are going to use language wars? Well, so are we.
Yeah,
y'all are going to play with
agree.
y'all are going to play with genders. We're going to become more entrenched in genders. We're going to celebrate men. We're going to celebrate women. You know, we have our own holidays and rituals. And Thursday. We take it back. And we do that not with force, not with aggression. We do that in our tribes by saying, you know, this is why it's so funny, man. All this stuff boils down to vibration. There's a reason why there's so much talk of singing in all these spiritual books. You know, vibration's real. And vibration can be harmonized with. People want to harmonize with what is true because it makes them feel good. This gender shit, it doesn't make people feel good, and they know it. It makes them feel confused and lost. And your heart can tell the difference.
Yeah.
It really can.
Yeah, I agree with that.
By allowing people to have, I was just in Portland. Okay, I was doing some work for Fancy Pants over there. I'm not going to name drop Ryan Reynolds, but I was working with a pretty cool guy out there, and I was working at his brand new distillery, doing some work out there because he's about to open this badass distillery. By the way, that guy's he's a legend. He could not be nicer. He's the coolest guy in the world. It's not his fault that when I went to the restroom, I was talking to the site manager. I said, "Where's the restroom?" She goes, "Down this hall." I went down there, and instead of a men's room and a women's room, they had a picture of a wheelchair, a toilet on one door, and on the other door, they had a picture of a wheelchair, a toilet, and a urinal. And I said, "Which one's which?" And she goes, "Well, the one with the urinal is technically the men's, but we're in Portland."
Wow.
So I said, "Does that mean if I'm with my baby boy or if I'm with my daughter, let's say I'm a mother, okay? My wife comes out here and she goes into the women's restroom with my daughter. Does that mean a man can walk in there and use the bathroom? Because that's fucking unacceptable to me." And in places like Portland, what they're doing is they're choosing not to be confrontational, like we talked about earlier. They're choosing not to be uncomfortable because it might be uncomfortable to say, "Hey, don't do that. That's inappropriate." But the way that we demonstrate to the universe and to our tribe is by having the uncomfortable conversations. Look, I understand that you're confused. Go take a piss outside. Okay? Because these are safe places that we've created for people who know what they're doing. And if you're confused, we can create a third bathroom for you. And it will just have a mishmash of symbols. We don't even know what they are. Now, I'm not here to disparage anybody who's going through gender dysmorphia. It's a real condition. And because of our society, because of the phthalates, because of the soy, because of the non-foods, your endocrine system is being destroyed. That's the system that produces your hormones. And guess what? If you eat too much soy, your testosterone levels are going to go down. If you're not eating things that have cholesterol in them, cholesterol is a precursor to testosterone. So guess what? Why do you think they push all this fucking vegetarian agenda? That's related to the gender issue. Because if you don't have enough cholesterol in your system, cholesterol is a precursor to testosterone. That's why they demonized egg yolks. They demonized egg yolks because they don't want you to be vital, to be virile and a powerful male. Because guess what? That makes a society that's hard to control. What they want is a society that's easy to control. A bunch of people who don't have energy, who don't feel like they're nurtured, who don't feel like they have proper nutrition. Look at this is the dramatization of what they do in look at what they do in North Korea. They're starving everybody. Well, they're trying to do it to us on a real subtle level. It's the same stuff. So my heart goes out to anybody who's having gender dysmorphia issues. The first thing you need to do is go visit an endocrinologist and have all your hormone levels checked. Is your testosterone and your estrogen at normal levels? And I would bet $1 million if you're having gender dysmorphia issues, they are not. And that's the ugly elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about. We have medical interventions and methodology to find out what's going on with people who have gender dysmorphia. We don't want to address it. And there are dozens of scientists out there who know this, and they can't go on the record because they're afraid of losing their license.
Well, yeah, you would be going against the agenda that this is just how they are naturally. There's nothing wrong with them. You know, there's no
talk about checking any components of health.
Yeah, there's no science behind it. It's just nature.
Well, that's in anything. I mean, there's nothing that, like, you know, I know that there's some really, really great doctors out there. There's some really great health professionals out there. And I'm not trying to, you know, one of the things that me and Ryan talk about almost on a daily basis, one of the things that I hate doing is just lumping everybody into this one big category and slapping a label on it. You know, I don't like that. Again, it goes back to an individualistic mindset. I know there's some really great doctors out there, but if you visit a doctor and one of the first questions that this doctor asks, if it's not about your diet or your exercise or what you do on a day-to-day basis, what you're intaking into your body, into your system, and how you're expelling that, if that's not the question that they're asking, you're not seeing a doctor. You're seeing a drug dealer. It's flat out.
That's right. And so to bring it back to the original question, how do we deal with this gender issue? We talk about it in an honest, open, scientific way. First, let's rule out the possibility that your hormones are out of balance. Now, honestly, you know, I make light of this stuff because I'm having fun and we're just here, we're friends, whatever. I honestly do not want to disparage people who have issues with their gender because I know this is a real thing that happens to people. It's not the volume of people they want you to believe. It's a very small percentage of the population, very infinitesimal component of the population. But that doesn't mean that's still not important. It is important. And anyone who's having challenges in this life, my heart goes out to you. But I promise you, there are answers if you approach it in a rational, scientific way and a spiritual way. Observe Mother Nature. What is your diet like? Is your endocrine system functioning properly? Do you have correct hormone levels? Why do you think we never hear about hormone levels when it comes to the gender argument? They're intentionally divesting us of the information that gives us answers. So our response is we address that by saying, let's bring the information back into the system that gives us answers. Let's talk about hormones and the role they play in the gender you feel. Because we know what testosterone and estrogen do. And why are we not talking about these things? Why is it that more than 50% of people that get gender reassignment surgery regret it?
Yep. Yeah.
These are facts. These are indisputable facts. And if we just keep paying attention to the indisputable facts, the truth becomes undeniable. Everything is about becoming undeniable. It doesn't mean that these people aren't in pain. It doesn't mean that that confusion isn't difficult. You know, I was talking about this with Sam Tripoli the other day. When I was younger, I went through a phase where I was searching, and I dyed my hair blue. Okay, and I had an eyebrow ring, and I was really going out there searching for who Maverick was. Now, there's nothing wrong with dyeing your hair. I've had all kinds of colored hair. Yeah. I've had blonde hair. I've been bonkers. But one thing you can't do when you become an outlier in society intentionally is pretend like you don't know what society considers normal. And society's normality changes constantly. It shifts. It goes through waves. And if you're really paying attention, you can learn what those waves are. You can learn to surf them. You can say, I'm going to be right on the edge, but not outside it. Right? And that's fine. But if you step outside normality by dyeing your hair blue, you don't get to go to a family meeting and act surprised that everybody goes, why's your hair blue? You don't get to act surprised when you go into society with face tattoos and say, why do they treat me different?
Yes.
Because you got a bunch of fucking face tattoos.
Why won't the bank hire me? Because you got
That's
a
it,
door
man.
knocker in your fucking nose.
The
Come on, man.
uncomfortable reality in our society and in the human condition is that we have developed components that we consider normal. And the reason we've done that is because overall they make us feel safe so that we can trust your psychological constitution. And we want to. And when you step outside that zone of normality, we don't know how to appraise you. We don't know how. And it doesn't mean we're not going to give you time to demonstrate who you are and still appraise you. This is why we all have friends with dyed hair. We still think they're great because we gave those people what was correct, the time to appraise them. But guess what? You're adding time to that equation. Everything you do that steps outside the bounds of normal society adds time to that equation. So if you're trying to be efficient in this reality, keep everything normal that you can and choose your battles for true expression. Choose your battles for true expression because those battles will become more meaningful and they will begin to define you. Now you are truly unique. And that's what you want. You want to be truly unique because you chose battles that you could back up through the Socratic Dialectic. You had a good explanation for why you did it. You weren't just thinking it was cool for the weekend. I did this for a specific reason because I chose to express myself in this particular way, and it defines who you are. Now that brings personal power to your equation instead of setting you aside from society like a rando with dyed hair. That's not very unique anymore, is it?
No, it's not.
Does this make sense, fellas? Am I talking crazy?
No. It's making perfect sense. Like I'm just sitting here, the wheels are turning on a lot of different topics.
It's wrong. It's wrong of me to do so, but whenever I see blue or green hair, I automatically assume the individual is a woke individual. So I know
because that's become cliche with people who adopt the norms of lazy people who are expressing themselves, who are just parroting a way that I express my uniqueness is making my hair blue. We've done that for fucking 30 years, man. Yeah. You're not unique. You've made yourself a fucking weirdo. Why don't you fucking do something truly unique and stop being lazy? And you're talking, this is coming from a guy who did it. And that's the lesson I learned, is that you don't get to be unique by copying other people. Andy Warhol already did that shit.
Yeah.
So take the fucking time and put the effort in to do something truly unique, because you know what? This world is fucking begging for shit that is truly unique. That's why we don't respect those people, because we know they're being fucking lazy. And our biggest problem in society is being lazy. That's just the same thing as eating chips on the couch.
Everybody's doing it.
See, y'all got me fired up. Look at this.
No, I love it.
My father told me as a young man, and it's a lesson that has stuck with me probably more than any other lesson. He was waxes eloquent all the time on really good, what I would call dad sayings and dad talks. But it was something he told me when I was young. And it's the same thing I tried to instill in my two little girls, or in trying to instill. Lance, he said, Lance, any freaking fish can float down the river. It's easy. Takes a different fish to swim against the current. And it could be, there's going to be rocks along the way. Current's going to get tough. You're going to have to fight through some things. There's going to be things that cause you more and more problems. But the ones that make it to the destination are the ones that won't quit fighting against the current. He should always say, don't be just any old fish. And at the time, at 7, 8 years old, I understood the concept of it, right? I got what he was saying, but it never really hit me until I was holding my firstborn, right? And then there's this huge, crazy world. And now I'm responsible for this little life. What's the one thing I want her to be able to, I want her to be the fish that's freaking swimming upstream. I don't want her, if she wants to be unique, she wants to express herself in her own way, by all means, honey, go do it. But don't fall into a rut that you are trying to express yourself because everybody else is doing these exact same things. And you think it's a way in which you can be a little bit rebellious or maybe a little bit counter or whatever. That carve your own way out. Like, take your stone and carve your own way out and make it your own and make it unique and make it who you are, because you're never, when you have challenges that come along the way in life, if you aren't that fish swimming against the current, you're just going to float back downstream like everybody else is, right? You've got to be able to understand that, hey, it's okay to be different. We want you to be different, but be different in your own way, not like everybody else is.
Yeah, that's so important, dude. Like, and that goes back to what Maverick is talking about with being the example. You know, your dad telling you this is leading a family in a masculine way, is giving you the, not only the option and the affirmation, but the encouragement to go out and be different, to go out and say, you know what, you be you, and I've got your back fully. You know, I do that. I do that with each of my kids. You know, most people on the show know that I have 4 children, and they are all uniquely different individuals. I've raised them all in the same house with the same morals and values and the same, but they all have different personalities. They all love different things. They're all totally unique, different people. Not only that, most of the heel folk out there, and you guys here definitely know because you're in my circle, but I lead a teen ministry. If you ask any one of these teens that I meet with and give lessons to and just sit down and have conversations with, what we're doing right here is not a lot different than my teen meetings in church. Okay. I mean, the thing that I tell them more than, and you can ask them, what does Justin say more often than anything?
Portals.
Not portals. Sometimes portals. Sometimes portals. I'll get into a quick story in a minute. You could ask any one of them, and they'll say, do not conform. Don't conform. Do not conform to the crowd. Be you and stand on what you believe in. Stand on what is true to you. Stand on what is right. Stand on what is good. Stand on what is beautiful. I mean, that's just that's what we have to do. And that goes back to what Maverick is talking about within the tribe. We have to teach. We have to teach this. We have to teach it. And, you know, the best way to teach, show it, live it, do it, be that person that you're telling other people to be. But a quick little story, since you said portals in the team meeting, we did get off our, hey, look, we talk some crazy stuff sometimes. I mean,
put a pin in that because I want to talk about conformity after this. So go on.
Okay. So we were sitting there one day and we were talking about reality. We were talking about reality. Like, I don't know how we got onto the topic or whatever. One of the quietest kids in the entire group, he looks at the door and he was like, man, you know what? That makes me think, like, is the door even really there? And my head was like, my mind was blown. I was like, dude, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you there. I mean, yeah, me and you see it and feel it, but I don't know.
Bro, how come you weren't like, hey, go try to walk through that wall, see what happens?
Well, I think he did. He's a wild card. He's a wild card.
But yeah. You know, here's the thing, man, is that, like, it is super important, but it's also important to remember the Hermetic principles. Life is duality, okay? Male and female. And in that duality, okay, there is also a time when conformity is important to make other people feel safe. It's not that you abandon conformity simply to be a wild card. And every lesson will teach you this. You know when it's important to conform? When you're patiently waiting in line. When you're waiting for your turn. You know why? Because that's how you demonstrate to others that they have equal value to you. But when it is your turn, that's when you don't conform. That's when you demonstrate your uniqueness. And so yes, of course it is important to swim upstream, but it is also appropriate at certain times in life to take a break and rest and coast with the stream. It is also important in certain times in life to make strategic retreats where you say, you know what? I went hard in the paint on this fucking thing I thought was true, and I found more information, and I've been going right into the rocks over and over. So I'm going to fucking coast downstream a little bit and relax and reassess and then go back upstream when it's appropriate. So one of the things I don't want to underline unnecessarily here is the idea that, I mean, a gender role is a kind of conformity, isn't it? I'm going to conform with being a man my whole life, with the roles that have been set out in front of me by other men. That's a kind of conformity. And yet, I will find a way to express my masculinity that is unique and also does not offend others. That is true uniqueness. When you can find a way to express your uniqueness within the conformity of a society, that balances both sides of the coin so that other people feel safe and recognize my uniqueness and they see that I am blending the two things together, because that's what a man and a woman do. They blend together in a kind of immaculate beauty, right? So it's fascinating to consider how conformity can't be divested from our experience. We have to understand that it plays a role. It's just sometimes one role is more dominant than the other. The swimming upstream has to be more dominant than the lazy floating. But sometimes it's appropriate to do both at different stations. And you have to appraise your station and decide where you are and accurately respond. It's just that the majority of your time has to be spent following that uniqueness, right? Because that's why we're here after all. I mean, one of the things they're trying to do within our society is homogenize it, blend everything together so that there's no uniqueness at all. And that is an over-domination of conformity, right? But it still plays a role, you know? I'm not going to swerve outside traffic because I want to get ahead of everybody, right? People still do that. That's an inappropriate time to display your uniqueness, right? Everyone, and how do we figure that out? We observe nature. Observe nature. Sometimes the herd is a safe place to be. It's just that it's unlikely within the narrative of the human experience that you will be able to advance what you were put here to do within the confines of the herd. Spend your time in the herd when it's appropriate, when you need to replenish yourself, when you need to regain, you know, sometimes when you're at the bottom of the barrel, when you're at, you know, at rock bottom, it's okay to lay low. It's just, that's not where you stay.
Yeah. When it's time to do that super awesome mating call, you do it. When it's time.
That's mine.
That was audio. That was
I'm not
audio
gonna lie,
gold.
I just chubbed up.
That was audio gold right there. When it's time to take on that old alpha, you do it. You step up. You do it.
That's it. Let's knock horns. It's time.
Yeah. I'm ready to knock horns right now. Y'all get me fired up.
You're not feeling me again.
Make a meme out of that, please, somebody.
That's what I'm gonna
somebody.
That's what I'm gonna title the episode. Knocking horns.
Oh my God, that is the gayest thing I've ever heard. Oh my God.
No, it's not as gay. It's not as gay.
That's fine, but hey.
It's not as gay as last week's guest when he took his shirt off and started showing us his tattoos.
You got Bert Kreischer on?
Ryan said you're like the Bert Kreischer of authors.
Who'd you have on?
Arthur Unk. He's the head writer for the Grey Rooms podcast.
Okay.
Cool dude, man. He's hilarious. He's a super good dude.
I respect anybody who's willing to rip their shirt off, man. Like we're in Florida at a beach party. You gotta.
Well, he was a little inebriated. He was steady drinking the entire interview, which is totally cool. You know, whatever opens you up and makes you comfortable to talk, I'm good with. But I did say on last week's episode, knocking horns is nothing. I said if there's one thing, or what? How did I put that?
I'm sure you're coming.
There's nothing we love more on Appalachian Intelligence than naked dudes.
Jesus Christ.
He did say that.
Let the memes be wild. Bring it on. That is hysterical.
Bring it on.
Bro. Well, I mean, you know what, though? It's that, you know, there's a lot of masculinity in this room right now. And in the future, we may need, you know, some feminine energy to balance these combos out. And I welcome that, you know? Here's the thing. Everything in its place. And you know what? Joe Rogan's gotten accused of being a little bro-ish. And if we're honestly analyzing his angle, it's true. But you know what? He's exploring the masculine condition. That's what we're doing.
Yep.
We're not exploring the feminine condition. You know why? Because we have no fucking business doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're not women. So,
you're right.
You know what? It is what it is, and that's fine. That's what it's supposed to be. I can't speak to what it's, you know, about what it's like to be a woman. I have no fucking idea. So, you know what? Let's be a bunch of gay. No, just kidding.
Yes. That's what I've been working for this whole time.
Damn it.
Oh, man. I'm just being silly, but yeah, all right. So that was an amazing question, though. Thank you. Because you know what? I'm nervous about the gender role stuff. Well, gender role is a big thing, dude. Gender role is a big fucking
it really
thing.
is.
It's a big, like, that's one of the majors right now. That's one of the major attacks. So let's just cover what the major attacks are. Let's just see if we can list them. This would be interesting. What are the major attacks? But they're not that many. It's not as many as you think. Gender roles, major fucking attack. What else?
Major. That one's huge.
Race.
Major attack. Is it okay to make certain people more important than others? Is it okay to be a feminist? No. You should be a humanist. Is it okay to think any race deserves a leg up now because of whatever happened in the past? None of that had anything to do with us. We're supposed to be equals. So that's a great point. Yes, race. What else we got?
I would say
politics.
Specifically, though.
I would say like sovereignty of
the body.
Self.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a huge one.
Right. So this goes into Roe v. Wade. This goes into the jab. This goes into all the stuff. It's like, do you even have control over what happens to you? Listen, man, I understand that the argument for what happens at conception is fucking sticky. But what it comes down to is a personal human experience. And it's more important to teach people the value of life so that they know not to make the mistakes in the first place, so that they know they're engaging in a sacred act that has consequences.
Yes.
So that they know that once you take your dick out, that's the same as a cosmic credit card. And you're going to have to pay for that fucking transaction.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, I stole that.
Card.
I stole
How
that.
tall are these registers going to be?
Dude, that's a cosmic credit card, man. And you pay for that for the rest of your life. And it's like, I stole that from a fucking real famous shock jock named, what was his name? He was a guy who used to talk about men's rights back in the fucking 90s. And he got canceled. He was one of the first people ever to get canceled because he would just talk about all these guys who were donating sperm. And then women would use that sperm to impregnate themselves. And then they would sue these men who went to sperm banks for child support and win. This happened in the 90s. So he's like, look, you need to think about your dick like a credit card. Every time you get it out, you're making a payment. And I'm talking about a cosmic payment. I'm not talking about a financial payment here. You might make a baby. So rather than argue about what's appropriate in terms of terminating a pregnancy, in terms of birth control, in terms of whatever, we can address all that by starting before any of that ever happens. Don't put yourself into a position where you might have to make a cosmic payment unless you're ready to make it. There's a billion things you can do without creating pregnancy. A lot of fun stuff. A lot of nasty, nasty stuff. Okay? Pretty fun. And you don't have to endanger the potentiality of creating a human life. Get creative, man. That's what we should be encouraging rather than fighting about when life exists in the womb.
Yeah.
You know, but what's really important is to teach people that that's a sacred act. It's sacred. That's an energy exchange. Beyond the physicality of it, that's an incredible sacred act to direct your energy towards another human. If people were more educated, they'd be able to make more conscious decisions.
But again, that goes.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it is. But that goes to the intake of media, of everything that's out there. It's just so it's commonplace. It's nothing anymore. The sacred act that you're talking about now is viewed as walking up to a buddy and giving them a hug. I mean, it's just
that's right.
It's not viewed. It's absolutely intentional. It's absolutely intentional. The majority of the things that we're talking about on here are intentional. They have been put into place to see the world, to see the results that we're seeing right now. I mean, that's the way that it is.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact.
Matt, can I interject? I may ask a question to the collective here. We keep like saying they've done this, they've pushed society in this way.
I know where you're going.
Created
me too. I love it too.
Things for keep us. They've mixed up our gender roles. They've tried to homogenize everything. Who's the they?
Obviously,
politicians. We talking society. We talking the elite. We talking the governing elite. I mean, we keep saying they, but who's the they?
The reptilian overlords. Jesus. Who else? Who else is going to do this?
There's lizard people everywhere.
Freaking lizard people everywhere.
In my humble opinion, it's anybody who wants to keep you busy and paying your bills and not paying attention to rising up. Look, if you believe that there are people who are born with deformities in this world that allow them to have mental faculties that are not completely there, then there's also the opposite of that. People who have extreme intelligence, an intelligence you may not even be able to understand. It's so incredible. Now, pair that with private tutors, private libraries, private access to information that will never make its way to the internet. This may include things that we would consider magic spells because they are so powerful in terms of manipulating our reality, we can't even begin to have the fucking basic fundamental faculty to understand how they work. There has been private information sequestered from the masses since the beginning of time. And this is passed around in the elite class. You know how I know? I've fucking tipped my little tootsies in it. I've seen it. I've watched them do it. I've been exposed to it. I've seen the elites. My family are the elites. I'm not connected to them now, but my family founded this country. And that legacy that founded this country, they offered me an entry into that elite class. And it was called going to Virginia Military Institute and accepting a commission in SEAL training. Now, I turned that down because George Bush Jr. was about to go in to be president. And I was like, that guy's not going to be my fucking boss. There's no fucking way.
It's a terrible idea.
And all the guys that took that commission, most of them are dead now. The guys that I came up training with in the United States Naval Sea Cadet Corps. I went to military basic training at Great Lakes RTC in Michigan for Navy boot camp when I was 15. The guys that came up with me, most of them, they're not, they became SEALs and they're dead now because of shady ass shit. Okay, why? Because there are puppet masters. There have always been puppet masters. People who understand how to stay above what the Italians referred to as the popolo minuto, the little class. And that word, popolo minuto, little class, it means people who literally didn't get enough nutrition. So they were smaller as humans. When you study history, what you realize is there has always been a class of people who are insulated from the human experience by wealth and power. And they interbreed, they protect each other, and they like to stay away from the fucking commoners in such a way that the commoners at large don't really even know they exist. And this has popularly been referred to in modern times as the deep state. Well, the word state is a misnomer. It ain't no giant state of people. It's such a tiny class of elites at the same parties, at the same brunches, at the same fucking fancy clubs playing golf together. There is a small elite class of people that determines the direction of our planet. And for a long time, that was referred to as the aristocracy. You can call it whatever you want throughout history. But what they do is they sequester knowledge. They sequester medical power. They privately tutor each other. It all comes down to knowledge and power, man. And what they want to do is keep it from us and give us a perverted version so that we feel like we're involved. They drip it to us. And they keep the best shit for themselves. Vatican Library. Okay?
Yeah. Give me 10 minutes in that.
So when people says, who's the they? Who's the they? That's the they. There actually is an elite class of people who have always existed on our planet from the beginning of time. And it's not necessarily the same ones from start to finish. It's just like everything else. Some things filter up and some people filter down. But it's a layer of scum at the top that doesn't circulate into the stew. It sits on top.
It's Game of Thrones.
It's fucking exactly right. Watch Game of Thrones. That's exactly what the fuck is happening. And they know what they're doing, and they are tutored from the beginning of their life to the end of their life in a way that you and I can barely even cognize. We can barely even fucking understand the nature of that reality. Because they're given tools that you and I will never touch. Corporations, billions of dollars, information that to us probably seems like magic.
Yeah.
Because it's so advanced.
Well, I mean, I think that's the case in most corporations and companies and organizations and all of these different things, societies. You know, I always talk about, I feel like there is a 99%, we talk about CERN quite a bit on this show. And what we believe that CERN may possibly be doing, or the consequences of what CERN is doing, some of these things. And one of the biggest things that you'll hear, and it's the same thing with NASA, same thing with all of these big, huge whatever you want to call them. It's the same question all the time. Well, you really think that they could put this many people on a NDA and they're just not going to talk about anything? Well, no, I think 99% of the people have no idea what's going on behind the curtain. They have
It's about compartmentalization.
Absolutely. It's just like, okay.
You've always seen Severance, not the indirect. Have you watched Severance? It's an Apple TV show. It's Ben Stiller produced it. It's about the guy from
I've seen the ads on there.
But this is when you mention compartmentalization, and this is this karmic effect. They got to put it out there for us to see. Like, this is exactly the whole concept of the show, right? Is that you have work life, that you spend 8 hours, and then you've gone through a procedure that they push a button or hear a vibration or a tone.
Yeah.
And you go to the outside life, right? And then you live a whole different life outside of work. You're compartmentalizing that portion of your life. And then within the business, within the corporation, there are other compartments and other divisions who know nothing about each other, but they're all working for this kind of eventually kind of figure out, obviously, the show, what this is, but it's just this elite class of individuals who has this corporation, and they're doing all these things, and none of these people know what they're doing or why they're doing it.
That's right.
But it's taking place. Sounds exactly like everything you just said. It's like you can watch it take place in 9 episodes on Apple TV.
So another way that this is articulated is called diffusion of responsibility. A lot of people remember this because it got talked a lot about with the Holocaust. How could these individuals do these horrible things? Well, they were only given one task. Put these people on a train. Why am I doing this? Just put these people on a train. It's for their own good. We're putting them somewhere safe. They give them fake reasons. And all these good people do bad things because they're lied to. So when it comes to things like the moon landing, how could they possibly all keep that secret? Those motherfuckers had no idea what they were doing. They're looking at computer crunching numbers. Oh, 1357, 135. My job's account 1357, 1357. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know if it's real. It's just a computer screen. Go back and watch any of those videos of the moon landing. It's a bunch of fucking TikToks in a giant room looking at green numbers on a computer screen. They have no idea how they're contributing. They know that it's their job to look at 1357. I watched the trajectory numbers on the gravitational pull, and it shows that blah, blah, blah. That guy he's not harboring any secrets. This is a big fucking fake concept. How could they all keep a secret? None of those motherfuckers have any idea what's going on. They're doing a single job. Their responsibility has been diffused into, you make sure that this object stays within these parameters. And that's the gravitational pull of a spacecraft. Did you know that? They don't know that. All that shit could be completely fake. All they know is they sat there in that room. They're part of a big thing. It's hysterical to me. It's hysterical to me that people even believe that these people know what the fuck they're doing.
And it's way easier to get everybody on board and on the same page and to not question anything whenever there's a whole lot of hype around it. You're a part of something.
Oh, dude,
you
are
a part of this
society, bro.
Yeah, this is so huge what you're doing. I know it may seem small.
We're going to land on the moon.
It may seem insignificant. Your role in counting 1357 over and over and over may seem totally insignificant to you, but it's so huge for society.
Dude.
I ain't asking no questions. I'm putting the dude on the moon, son. That's what I'm doing.
No, listen, you know what the sad part is too? I'm not here to disparage anybody. Every single one of those individuals was busting their ass.
Yeah.
And just because
they were.
Just because the truth of what they were actually doing was obfuscated from them does not diminish their contribution. They worked their ass off. They really did all the math. They made sure that they were making sure. But you know how easy it is to separate jobs into such minutia that no one can see the whole? Go up to any Van Gogh painting. Put your eyeball an inch away. Tell me before you've ever seen it. Okay, turn the lights off. Put anybody in front of a Van Gogh painting right here. And you turn the lights on. And you go, what's that a painting of? They have no fucking idea. Looks like 3 brush strokes. Yellow, blue, and green. That's all they see. That is responsibility. That is compartmentalization. That is how it's done. And this is how the elites operate. They know what they're doing. They compartmentalize everything. They separate everything from everybody. You talk to anybody who's worked in any high-level secret project, any high-level anything within the government, they are not given access to the entire project. That's just not how it works. They say, this is a question we have. Why is this blue? You just work on that. Just work on that one blue. That's your job. You right there, blue. And then they go to this other guy. And they go, you fucking think about yellow. What we need to know is why this paintbrush stroke is yellow. Why? Meanwhile, there's a fucking painting. And there's only a handful of people. And those handful of people are so fucking invested in keeping that secret that they kill people. And we know this.
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
for sure.
As usual, my answer is overly elaborate and verbose, but the answer to your question is there is an elite class of people, and it's not they are magical. It's not that they're special. It's that they have been blessed with being popped out of a pussy in a particular time and space where they got access to the best shit ever. And you know what's crazy? If you believe some of the shit they teach each other, because I do have a lot of this esoteric knowledge, I have studied it, they do believe that they can manipulate reincarnation to find that right pussy, to pop out in the right spot. They believe that they can actually manipulate reincarnation to show up back in those families over and over. And if you study the lineage of any of the elite families, they believe they can influence their reincarnation to come back to that same family. And that's why they want to preserve their bloodline so badly. And that's some edge. That's some fucking edge shit. Go look into it, like Eddie Bravo would say.
Look into it. That's right. That's right. Look, but that's the thing. Look
into the Joe Rogan.
Look into
pretty good,
everything.
Right?
That is pretty good.
Give me some Alex Jones shit to say. Come on, let's have some fun here. Tell me some dude, Alex Jones has lost his mind, by the way. They may have cracked him. Have you been following this?
Yeah, I have.
Dude, that poor bastard. That poor bastard.
It's bad. It's really bad.
Well, you don't ever want the eye of Sauron to turn on you, my friend. Because
you're correct.
Because when that happens, you start saying things like, I killed everybody at Sandy Hook. I did it. It was all me. Yeah. I mean, he's fucking losing his mind. That poor fucking bastard.
He really is. It's bad. You know, another big hit that I think is going on right now, like a major hit.
Yeah. What are the major things? Yes, I like that.
I think one of the major ones right now is the zombie agenda.
That's Fuck yeah. They work it into every goddamn narrative. Zombie icebergs. Zombie icebergs are going to come down here and melt and fucking raise our sea. Are you fucking kidding me?
That's how it works.
So what do you think's going on? You know what I'm talking about, dude.
That's how it works.
You saw that shit.
Hey. Speaking of,
what are they doing, man? Are they just going to hammer it until they release these fucking things? Turn your mic back on, dude. Fucker. I want to hear you laugh.
Oh man,
turn it back on, fool. But see, they did this, man. This is the biggest thing in the news. These zombie icebergs from Greenland are coming down here, Joe Rogan. These zombie icebergs are going to raise the sea levels, Joe Rogan. I'll tell you what, man. It is getting to a point where it's fucking stupid. You know, you mentioned that Nick Hinton and I are doing this segment of my podcast called Dystopia Now.
Yes.
Because they're getting so fucking
phenomenal, Maverick.
Thank you.
Phenomenal.
We're doing it. Thank you, man. It's meant to be stupid. It's meant to be poorly edited. It's meant to have bad sound levels. It's essentially what Check It Out with Steve Brule, John C. Reilly. I don't know if you've ever were a fan of that show. We're essentially trying to do that with a conspiracy show. Okay, so all the bad stuff in it is on purpose. We're just being like, this is so fucking dumb, man. Listen, I'm a serious guy,
great.
Intense person. I need a break. This is exhausting.
Yes,
it's fucking stupid.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
before you say what you're going to about dystopia, I have a story to tell you about it.
Bring it.
I was reading this article, and then I listened to Dystopia, the first one. And I'm dying laughing, and I told Justin, I was like, I wonder if Nick has found the zombie pigs. Justin's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, here. I looked it up for him. I'm like, see, they were dead for over an hour, and they brought them back. But on that episode, when you like break character, you're like, is this fucking real? He's like, unfortunately, yes, Tony.
Isn't it fucking awesome how we like for no reason call each other Tony the whole time?
Yeah,
like, there's so real name. There's so many things like that where it happened organically, and we're like, that's fucking hysterical, man. Just keep doing that. Like, just like, let's do like one of the cool things about that show is we started to do things for no reason, and we were like, look, let's just do things for no reason. It's more fun. Call me Tony the whole time. For no reason. Just do that. We call each other Tony the whole time.
Everybody's Tony.
Yeah.
Back to you, Tone. Back to you, Tone. Coming at you, Tone.
That's us taking a fucking jab at the homogenization of our society. Hey, everybody be the same. Be normal and calm and the same. Be boring. Don't have any original ideas. Just listen. Tone. Listen, Tone. But like the zombie pigs thing, listen, there's some shit happening right now, man. That is, if you told me fucking 2 years ago, right before COVID, hey, guess what? They're going to admit aliens. They're going to start pushing the idea of zombies. They're going to push the idea of cannibalism. They're going to start creating babies in labs. And these aren't going to be conspiracy things. These are all going to be one of the things I told Nick from the beginning. I said, hey, man, I only want mainstream sources because that makes it extra obscene. That's why everything we reference comes from quote unquote. There's no such thing as mainstream sources anymore, man. I was listening to fucking, I think it was Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura talk about this the other day. Everything has become WWF. Everything.
Yep. It really has.
This is all Vince McMahon shit.
Yeah, even politics.
Well, it always was. All we're learning is that it always was. Yeah. All we're learning is that it always was. But even our mainstream news sources are now using green screens. They're fucking being like, there's bombs going off. And I've been in this basement for 10 months. I haven't come out because I was sequestered from COVID. I mean, it's all fucking bullshit. It's all bullshit, man.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And we're finally seeing it. Like, there's no way to deny it now. And so many people were invested in believing that America was like some magical fairyland that wouldn't fall prey to corruption. It wouldn't fall prey to empire being in actual decline. If you don't think our empire is in decline right now, you're fucking TikTok. Like, I'm sorry, you're out to space. It is undeniable now that we have some serious fucking problems coming down the pipe. I heard today that California yesterday sent out one of these text messages on all their phones. You know how you get these Amber Alerts? Or you get, like, in Hawaii. My brother was living in Hawaii. That's where I'm from. My brother was over there, and they got that missile defense text message a couple years ago. I'm sure you all heard about that. Incoming nuclear fucking attack. What? Okay, so they send these things out to our phone now, right? Well, California just sent one out to the state yesterday that said, prepare for rolling blackouts. Our electric grid's going down.
I saw that. And not only that, but I seen one of the, I don't even know her name or what her title is or whatever, but she was a spokeswoman of the EU today.
A professional liar,
said, now get this, said that the EU, the European nations involved in the EU were going to have to start taking breaks throughout the day with their electricity and give it some time to, quote, flatten the curve.
Dude, here's the thing is the immediate thing I said with California was, what changed? Did somebody attack the grid? What fucking changed?
Well,
Nothing changed.
Didn't this come right after the ban on the sale of gasoline vehicles?
Well, that doesn't go until 32, but 2032 is the last year they're allowed to sell gasoline vehicles. But this climate agenda, okay, so this is another thing. We're talking about the majors. Climate bullshit.
Oh,
climate bullshit. One of the majors. Why are they doing this? Because people who have access to massive information have forecasted the opposite of an ice age. And it's called a warming trend. And for those people who have never studied history, they don't remember the Great Dust Bowl of the 20s. They don't remember that most of our farming land in a giant portion of the country dried up and blew away. And this happened within a century of what we are right now. 1 million Americans starved. The idea of the hobo was born. 2 million Americans supposedly jumped on trains and just started traveling the country as hobos. People who had no home and no purpose and no meaning, just looking for work because so much farmland dried up and blew away. That happened 100 years ago. Guess what? Heat trends are cyclical. And you know what exacerbates heat trends? Burning up and destroying forests. You want to know how all this is a fraud? I'm going to give you 2 examples, okay? And these are not things I came up with on my own. I'm parroting other people, but not parroting, but like, you know, I've heard other very compelling arguments. That's the facts. I need to remember that. Anybody remember that we destroyed the lungs of the world? And does anyone ever notice that no one mentions planting a single fucking tree when it comes to the climate argument? You know, before climate science existed, it was something called fluid dynamics. You know why? Because the atmosphere above us is just a different kind of fluid. It's a fluid where the particles are spread out really far apart. And you know what it interacts with on a constant basis? The oceans. The oceans are what balance the atmosphere out. And that balance is known as fluid dynamics. And in the perversion of this scientism, they took out the component of the oceans and they started only focusing on the atmosphere. This is really fucking important because the oceans balance the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere in a major way through algae blooms, through all kinds of oceanic developments that consume carbon and turn it into oxygen just like trees do. And we're not talking about trees at all. Oh my God, there's so much CO2 on the planet. It's out of control. No, there's not. This is a closed system. What you're doing is releasing CO2 from organic material, and you've destroyed the natural process called trees, which turns it back into oxygen. So the answer to climate change is planting trees. And we knew this. You go back to the 80s, everybody was talking about planting fucking trees. There's a reason we're not planting trees anymore, because that's a real solution.
Right.
They don't want to do that. They think they've decided to trick us into buying carbon credits, into putting out less carbon. I'm sorry, things are going to always decompose. Things are always going to off-put carbon. That's number one. That's part one. Part two, I heard this the other day, and I wish I could cite this guy. If you study Florida economics, you'll know that condominium culture in Florida is massive. They're building more condos on the water in Florida than they've ever built before. And in all of those prospectus for the last 20 years, it doesn't say anything in all of those prospectus about, just in case the ocean levels rise, this investment is null and void. Banks are not going to lend money in an investment they think is going to fail. So if the world banks believed that climate change was real, they would not be throwing billions of dollars at investments on waterfront. Or at the very least, in all of those prospectus, there would be language to say, what if? And guess what? Not a single one has any kind of what if clause. None of these things that are formulated by banks say anything about what if. Not in the Hamptons, not in fucking Palm Beach, nowhere. Why? Because the banks know that it's bullshit.
Not in Martha's Vineyard, where the Obamas have a mansion.
That's right.
That's the thing, dude. Even the people that spout all of this climate change garbage and, oh, we have to do this, we have to do this, they're the ones buying the properties on the waterfront. Oh, it's going to raise sea levels. It's going to, but I'm going to go ahead and buy this $10 million house with all this stuff in Martha's Vineyard, if you don't mind, please. I mean, it's ridiculous. And that's the thing. If people would just take a step back, and like Maverick has eloquently said this entire time, observe nature. You know what's part of nature? We are
monkeys.
Observe what is going on around you. Quit taking somebody else's word for it. Quit listening to some person of authority because they've screwed things up before. I mean, it's ridiculous, dude. Everybody that's in power that all these people look up to, guess what? They've screwed everything up before already. It's a recurring, endless cycle of idiots that have some kind of authoritative role over. Man, that's what I'm tired of. I'm tired of these people that are spouting this climate change stuff. You know, that's our representatives mostly. But that's why I said our representatives. They're not kings. They're not queens. They're not monarchs. They're not totalitarian dictators. They represent you. They represent me. And that's because they do these things because we, as a people, allow them to do that. Nobody, just like Maverick said earlier, nobody is held accountable anymore. That's just like all this COVID stuff. All the push for vaccinations. You know, nobody wanted to talk about diet. Oh, you get a vaccine, you'll get a free McDonald's cheeseburger and a
fucking donuts,
of
man.
Beer, and you'll get a free dozen of donuts, which I was almost on board for. I love some Krispy Kreme. I was almost on board. They almost had me. But dude, that's what I'm saying.
Please be blueberry.
But that's what I'm saying, dude. Like it's just, I don't know. I already forgot where I was going with that. It's insane.
You stuttered for 14 minutes.
I started on a tangent and I totally lost where I was going. But that's what I'm trying to get at is it's all about pushing a narrative, us allowing them to push a narrative, and then not holding anybody accountable. Oh, that's where I was going. Accountability. You have people like Fauci. You have people like Deborah Birx. You have people like Deborah Birx who comes out and says the reason, and I'm paraphrasing here, but the reason that we skewed the numbers, the death numbers, the reason we skewed was to encourage more people to come out and get vaccinated.
To present vaccine hesitancy. But the presupposition in that statement is we skewed the numbers.
Exactly. And nobody wants to talk about that part. I mean, literally, the entire time, conspiracy theorists were saying these numbers aren't right.
Dude, how fucked up does it feel to be in the "I told you so" position now, and to not want to do that? To be like,
it doesn't feel good.
I just
feel does not.
Like, we told y'all what the fuck.
Here's the thing,
look at overall mortality. You told me overall mortality is up. They've invented a disease called SADS, sudden adult death syndrome. What the fuck is this bullshit?
That's what I said today at work. I was going off on a big rant today about it. I mean, literally,
imagine you at work being like, ah!
Healthy adults don't just suddenly die. It's I mean,
listen, man, infants don't either. I have bad news for you. I have a child, and you have children, and everybody has kids. There's no such thing as SIDS. Something unfortunate happened to that child, and that is an emotional and psychological way to give the parent an out, because it doesn't mean it's the parent's fault. It's not the parent's fault. But something unfortunate happened to that kid. It's not a random syndrome. That kid suffocated, or something bad happened, and we know the cause. It's just that psychologically, the human condition isn't ready to fucking accept that, because it fucks people up. And so we gave them an out, and we called it SIDS.
Yep.
There's no such thing as SIDS. Kids suffocate accidentally in their cribs. Shitty things happen to fucking babies. There's always a reason. But as a society, we're not set up to be like, man, fucking the universe is harsh. Turns out when bears wake up from hibernating, the first thing they go looking for is baby bears to eat. That's a fucking fact, man. That's an immediate, available source of protein. Human beings don't want to fucking accept that. They want to think about Disney bullshit.
Yeah.
They only eat honey.
That's right. But like the idea that we're gonna fucking push SADS now? Yeah, there's no reason. It's fucking so sad. This fucking died. Fucking dropped dead. I took the fucking vaccine a couple months ago, but that got nothing to do with it. But out there was some fucking, some fucking octopus thing looking at his goddamn veins that blocked all his arteries, but that's fucking coincidental. How fucking stupid do they think we are? Turns out we're pretty fucking stupid.
Yeah, we are, because they will push it and the people will accept it, because nobody wants to. It all goes back to everything that we've been talking about. Nobody wants to be uncomfortable. Nobody wants to have uncomfortable conversations. Nobody wants to do uncomfortable research. Nobody wants to sit back and uncomfortably observe nature. Nobody wants to do anything uncomfortable. We want to be distracted. We want to be able to sit down, go to work, do our 9 to 5, hate it the entire time we're there, come home, flop down in a recliner, turn on the most mind-numbing whatever we can find on TV. While we're doing that, we pull out our phone and scroll through social media for 3 hours while we're also taking like a little bit of what mind-numbing thing we're watching on television in at the same time. Dude, and then we go to bed and we wake up and we do it all over again. And there's so many people that are just caught and trapped in that cycle. And it's just like it goes into this whole cliff rock carving that we have recently come across in our area. And this is what made me think it's the same kind of deal. This thing it's amazing. And we have 2 episodes on it. We've talked about it a few different times on here. I'm not going to throw all the details out there again for the Hill folk. I mean, hopefully you guys are still as excited about it as we are, but I'm not going to throw all that out there at you. What I'm saying is there's only a select few people that live in the same town that I live in that even know about this, that even care about this. We have a rock carving that I've sent out to experts, like people that literally they do this for a living, that have no idea it's origins, have no idea where it came from, have no idea, it doesn't match any specific people groups. And nobody cares really, except for a select few people. And it's because, and I was thinking this while I was driving to the local grocery store today to get stuff really quick to come home and make tacos and go coach soccer and go do all this. We're so distracted. Here's the difference in people like us and those other people that I'm passing on the road and in the grocery store and on the way to soccer practice and who's watching their kids and taking pictures at that soccer practice. And they come, here's the difference. While I'm doing these things, my mind is elsewhere. A lot of the times I'm thinking, wait a minute, what if this means that? Or what if that means this? Or I'm constantly observing, as are you guys. If you weren't, we wouldn't be having the conversations that we're having right now. But so many people are just oblivious to anything other than whatever is directly in front of them in that moment. Whatever song is on the radio, whatever their kid is texting them at that time, whatever they have to pick up from the grocery store to bring home to cook dinner. People are so busy, so distracted, so focused on the now that nobody cares about anything. Nothing.
How do we fix that?
Put DMT in the water supply.
We intoxicate them with the true nature of their reality. We have to intoxicate people again with exploration.
Yes.
We have to encourage them to feel like children. Remember that feeling when you're a kid and you're like, fucking dinosaurs? What?
Yeah, that's how we felt.
Dinosaurs?
That's how we felt when we seen this rock.
Fucking lizards that were fucking 14 story. What? What? There are people in our society that can do this to us. True artists, man. This is why they have destroyed art. And what we're doing right now is a kind of art form. Discussion is an art form. Seducing others with your language is an art form. Intoxicating others with ideas is an art form. That is how we demonstrate it. We give them little things that intoxicate their minds. They can't stop thinking about it. You know, I heard this today. Bop. They can't stop thinking about it. Fuck, I can't stop fucking thinking about that thing they told me. It's fucking, what is that thing? These are seeds. We plant mind seeds. We are here to sow. We are here to be farmers. And guess what? We already mastered the physical realm in terms of the human experience. It's fucking crazy to think that we did that. Not only did we master it, we're tinkering with it so that we ruin it again.
Yep.
The true exploration of the future is in the mind. So if you want to figure out how to fucking solve all these problems, you figure out how to intoxicate a person with the solution.
And man, I think everybody, we keep talking, what's the solution? What's the solution? I think it all goes back to community. It all goes to community. Whether we're talking about our local community or we're talking about the tribe, building the tribe, that's community. Like that's bringing people together, sharing quality.
How do you make the community intoxicating though? Why do you want to be there instead of on Instagram? Because you're having more fucking fun. What is fun? The connection feels more genuine. You get more out of it. And how do you get more out of that community experience? You, as an individual, bring something to the community experience that is better than Instagram. You go out in this world and you fucking better yourself and you read the books and you do the work. You become an impressive motherfucker. You're telling me that somebody's going to choose Instagram over hanging out with The Rock? You're telling me that somebody's going to choose Instagram over hanging out with Arnold Schwarzenegger? Over hanging out with people who have become undeniable? You have to become more undeniable than Instagram. That is the solution. You have to be the solution. That's the answer, man. Is to make your community so seductive and undeniable that people want to be part of it. That's the fucking answer.
Yeah.
Any community. Go be something impressive. Be a hero for your community. And it doesn't matter what kind of hero you are. It doesn't matter. Think about the things that young people become fascinated with. Any kind of badass. It doesn't matter what kind of badass you are. Male or female, anything. Be a fucking badass. Be undeniable. That's how you bring value to your community. That's how you give to your community. And don't just be a badass so that you can feel fancy about yourself. Be a badass so that you can teach other people how to be a badass. God. That's how we win. That's how we take it back.
Maverick is pumping me up right now. I'm getting ready to go. I'm getting ready to go spin kick something.
Do it, man. Pumped. As long as it's healthy. Fucking, you know what? That's called momentum. Get momentum. And listen, we've been going on for a while now, so I want to leave you guys with some actionable stuff. What are the actionable things that we can do as individuals to fucking fix these problems, man? Number one, someone who inspires you so that you on a daily basis can go prime yourself and put yourself into the right mind state so that you can crush your reality. What do I do? What does Maverick do? I like people. I like this guy named Les Brown. Anybody know who Les Brown is? He's a black preacher who knows how to fucking talk the truth. And when he was younger, he went through the shit. And so he knows how to talk like a preacher, but talk about the nature of life. Les Brown. Go find him. And he's an older gentleman now. And, you know, people change in the nature of their trajectory, but the stuff he did when he was younger, it is so undeniable in terms of motivation. If you leave any of his lectures and talks being like, I just don't know, you're not paying attention. Les Brown. Go follow him up, okay? I've always been inspired by Arnold Schwarzenegger. It doesn't matter, you know, what you think about that guy's personal trajectory. Every human being is going to have flaws, but it's undeniable that man started as a bodybuilder. He came to this country and became an American entrepreneur. He was a millionaire before he ever won any bodybuilding contests. Before he was ever, he won a few bodybuilding contests before he became a millionaire. But the first thing he did was come over here and invest in real estate. He became a millionaire before he was ever famous.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit if you care about Arnold Schwarzenegger. What I'm saying is you need to start surrounding yourself psychologically with people who inspire you, because it's your job to go into the ether and find inspiration and bring it back to your tribe and share it with them, especially the children, because children need real inspiration. They need to. You want to learn real masculinity? Go study Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really?
Like, seriously, man. And you know what's important? Point out the mistake. Here's where he took it too far. Mentor people, young people who are watching it. You want to do something cool in your fucking youth group, man? Watch one of his movies and point out where they go too far. And talk about it. Why? Why did they go too far? What does that mean? But what was the overall takeaway? Where is the value? Why is he so inspiring as a character? You know, and don't sugarcoat it. Just say, hey, look, this is why all of society went for it. This is why it was so important as a demonstration of personal power. But here's where they went too far.
Yeah.
And this is why he had staying power, because what he did right was more than what he did wrong. We're all going to do wrong.
Yep.
So what's actionable is inspire yourself first. Go find things that inspire you to bring back to your community. You know?
Yeah, I love that.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why Maverick Mathews is on Appalachian Intelligence.
That's right.
Dude, here's the thing. Maverick
Thank you, brother. That's so flattering, but I'm just a human who doesn't know dick. I'm just some dummy. I grew up without a dad. I had to figure it out on my own, and all I want to do is fucking pay it forward, man.
Hey, stay tuned after the show. We know a dick. We'll introduce you.
Yeah. He owns his own meadows, his own farms.
Gross.
Oh, my God.
The finest phallus in all the field.
There is
but no, I mean, Maverick is like, I'm with you, Lane. Like, Maverick will keep coming on this show. Just every, like, I think we're working on a quarterly basis now. Like once a quarter, Maverick.
People heard that like, that's too much. That's too much. That's too much.
quarterly.
Sure, the
guest
frog's gay, Joe
appearance.
Rogan. Maybe bring him on I'd say half a year. I don't know, Joe Rogan. That's too much.
But no, here's the thing. Like, Maverick is good for my drive, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah.
Like, no, just like, you have to have people in your life that can say, that can hit some of these things and be like, this is what we need to do. This is how we do it. And it's iron sharpening iron, man. It's sitting down and being able, just like he said, hey, I love you, but here's your flaws. Here's what you need to work on. And the only reason I can tell you that is because I'm working on this right now within myself. I'm self-reflecting. I'm looking in the mirror and seeing what's wrong with me, what's wrong with my character, what's wrong with the way that I carry myself, what's wrong with my ego. And because I'm doing that, and because I'm finding these things within me, Lance, in church all the time, preacher gets up, starts preaching a sermon, and he says, I can say this and I can deliver this to you guys because the Lord's been working on me about this, right? You hear it all the time. That's how we speak life into other people. It's because we're self-reflecting and we're working on ourselves. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's ever going to be perfect. But if you don't wake up each morning and make the decision, you know what, today I'm going to be a better human being than I was yesterday. If that's not what you're doing, then I don't know why you're even, I don't know why you're doing it. Because everybody talks about, especially in this day and age, everybody wants to be famous, instant fame. This TikTok viral video, dude, we've said it 1,000 times on this show. Yeah, we're growing. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it would be the best if we could do this full time. That would be awesome. But if we don't ever get a single download from here on out, I would still show up every single time that we schedule and have these conversations with you boys because it's important to me. Yes. It's good for my soul. Sure. It's good for me to look at myself and to have these conversations. And this is totally different. We've got some paranormal lovers out there, some cryptid lovers out there, some alternate universe, reality lovers that are like, what am I listening to? But you know what? It's important to me. And I think that it's important to you guys. And hopefully, Hillfolk, hopefully it's important to you as well. Because whether you totally disagree with the stance that we're taking, or you may perceive that we're taking here, look, I'm not right or left. I'm not liberal or conservative. I'm not Republican or Democrat. I am a person that is looking to wake up each morning and be a better human being than I was yesterday. I want to love my family. I want to love my wife. I want to teach the youth because I want them, and by I want them to learn from the mistakes that I've made. That's how. It's because of life experience. The only way that we're able to sit down and have these conversations and to say, "Well, I know this because it's based on life experience."
Well, I mean, wisdom comes with many failures.
Absolutely. Maverick talking about dyeing his hair blue, and I mean, these are things that we all go through, and it doesn't have to be dyeing your hair blue. It could be a million different things that you made that choice and that decision in that moment, and there's consequences to that, but good or bad. There's consequences. Every action has a reaction. And that's it.
Took a long time to say that.
Sorry, Ryan.
It's true though, man. It's okay. That was fucking great.
It's my fault. I took my gummies too late and I'm peaking right now. And it's just, you guys keep talking real fast and I'm trying to keep up. I felt like when I was speaking earlier, it was really slow. Was it?
No, man, you're good. We're still going, by the way. So, like, hey.
Yeah, I know.
Ryan,
I love it, dude. I fucking Man, I can't wait to hang out with you guys in meat space.
I know.
Oh no, me neither, dude. It's
Get
gonna be
these
great.
meat sacks together.
We're gonna do it around a
Not
fucking
our
campfire,
literal
brother.
sacks. Well, maybe,
This is what I want. This is what I'm visualizing right now. Okay. Ryan and Maverick have their guitars out. Me and Lance are singing in perfect harmony.
You got
perfect harmony. Yeah, we bring out the cowbell because I got a fever.
I got the shirt.
And we're having this campfire right in front. You got Maverick's big, massive treehouse compound in the background. Okay. And blue little fairy lights are dancing all around the treehouse.
I haven't posted that yet. I gotta post that. Yeah.
Yes.
You do need to post that. I just thought about that. You know what?
That's good,
dude?
call.
I had no joke. I had notes. Okay, coming in. I hardly ever take notes going into an interview, but I had notes today about what I wanted to ask Maverick about.
Hold on. Okay, so hold on. We're obviously winding down here, but bust those fuckers out and do one. What's the top of the list of your notes? The questions.
Okay.
Bust them out and look at. Let's do one because I think we'd be remiss here.
I will preface with this: if you are not comfortable about speaking of this,
okay, I know
at the moment,
I know where you're going.
You don't have to.
No, I'll address it. I'm not afraid to talk about it.
Okay. So these books.
Okay.
You've been diving into and reading.
You're talking about Robert Monroe.
Robert Monroe. A message that you sent me, not to get totally in depth, but you mentioned something about some crazy experimentation that you were doing. And anytime Maverick Mathews messages me and says, I'm doing some crazy experimentation, I automatically, number one, I have two reactions. First reaction is, that's awesome. Second reaction is, do I need to have a doctor in Idaho close by on standby because he's about to hurt himself?
Or a witch doctor.
That's my two reactions.
Okay, so you want me to talk about the out-of-body experience stuff?
Please.
Okay. So I heard a gentleman by the name of Joe Rupe talk on Tinfoil Hat about Robert Monroe and his experimentation in out-of-body experience. Now, for the lay people who are not familiar with this phenomenon, before we get to Rock and Crystal Sedona, I want you to know, number one, I'm a pretty skeptical dude when it comes to anything that I can't actually research, experience, find information on. And as it turns out, there is a preponderance of information on the out-of-body experience. It is a human experience that is well documented throughout the human condition with a lot of people. And on the surface, it might seem super fringe, but it is so well researched that institutions like, the CIA, massive institutions in the government, large scientific institutions, all kinds of mainstream groups have done investigation into this phenomenon. And it is estimated that as many as potentially 25% of the population have had some kind of experience with this phenomenon that they can't explain. Pretty fucking common, actually. Now, this includes things like sleep paralysis or any time that you are outside of the body looking down on your body, going, what the fuck is happening? And, about a quarter of the Hill people may be resonating with this, statistically speaking, going, fuck, I know exactly what he's talking about. I had this weird thing when I was over at Auntie's house and I was sleeping on a couch and all of a sudden I got up to get water, but I was still there. Listen, man, my very first experience with this happened when I was in my early 20s and I experienced sleep paralysis. And I woke up, but my body was still sleeping and I was looking down at my body. And I didn't really indulge it very deeply because these kinds of phenomenon are really easy to write off and be like, oh, you're dreaming. You're dreaming. And it's very challenging to explore this realm scientifically and say, well, how do you know you weren't dreaming? You know, where's the actual data? So when I was introduced to the work of Robert Monroe by Joe Rupe, who's now a friend of mine, and who we correspond on the phone, all the time now. We're working on some new projects together. But when I was introduced to this idea, I immediately consumed all of Robert Monroe's work. Now, Robert Monroe was a dude who was a very successful businessman, a very middle-of-the-road, white-bread American dude. And he didn't believe in a lot of flim-flam and mumbo-jumbo. And he started having experiences in an organic way that made him think he either had a brain tumor or he was losing his mind. Okay. And so he immediately went to doctors and said, I don't know what the fuck is going on here, but I think I might have a brain tumor or be losing my mind. And through scientific process of elimination, they're like, nah, man, turns out you're experiencing this well-documented phenomena that we know about that just isn't part of the mainstream scientific community narrative. And he approached it in such a critical way. There's a giant fucking spider that just crawled onto my computer. You can't make this shit up. You cannot make this up. Hold on. You see this fucking thing?
Oh, yeah. That's one of those zombie spiders. It's reanimated.
Zombie icebergs, Joe.
Oh, God, they found you.
I mean, I want to squish it, but it's on my fucking keyboard. What are the chances of the timing? I'm terrified this thing's in my fucking house. All right, so live and let live. So can't write this. So Robert Monroe ended up approaching this stuff in such a critical way that it's really hard to dismiss the way that he approached it. And it became so well respected that there is an entire institute that has survived past his death. It's called the Monroe Institute, and you can look it up. Government institutions have gone to this guy and said, teach us about the out-of-body experience because we want to understand it more. Now, it turns out people just generally don't understand what the fuck this experience is. And without being overly verbose, which I'm always terrible at and already have been, I will tell you that this really got my mind firing. And just like experimentation with psychedelics, I do not believe this is a realm that you need to delve into without significant preparation and planning. And because I'm going through such a difficult divorce right now, the most recent development is I've decided to put it off for a while because I don't believe I'm in a psychological station where I feel comfortable fucking around with my brain. Right? Because
Probably
this is some pretty heady shit.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that before I decided to take a conscious break, after I read all of Monroe's book, he's got 3 books, and I crushed them out pretty quick. They're easy reads. They get pretty fucking out there. Traveling in the ethereal realm without a body. Going into space, Joe Rogan. Got no body. I'm telling you, man, this guy gets fucking weird quick, okay? And it gets fucking intense. And you're like, what? Where do I draw the line for psychopathy? You know, or that's a wrong term to use, but like just madness in general. You're playing with your brain. But we also know that if you study the Upanishads, if you study fucking esoteric wisdom, you know, that's thousands of years old, they talk about this shit. It's possible, potentially, to separate your ethereal body from your physical body. Intentionally. Through techniques. And that's about as far as I'm willing to go. I don't know what the fuck it means, but I will tell you that I had an experience without going into the details of that experience. Because the fundamental component of this stuff is that it happens when you're in what's called a twilight state, or what's in scientific terms referred to as a somnambulistic state. It's the hypnotic state.
It's like right in between wake and sleep, right?
Between wake and sleep.
Yeah.
And everybody's experienced weirdness in that state if they really pay attention to the arc of their life.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So what happens if you intentionally cultivate that state where you can keep yourself from falling asleep? Now, this is the first step in cultivating this potentiality. is to figure out how to do it without falling asleep. Because guess what? The hardest part is not falling asleep, because you get right there. You know what I compare it to? And it's absolutely related to is the
I know exactly where you're going. Choking it off. Experience.
Getting right up to the edge and not passing the point of no return. Because I don't know if it's the same in the female condition because I've never experienced their physiology, but I can tell you for the male condition, there is a point of no return. And when a man starts to delve into his sexuality in a real serious way, he realizes that that's a kind of a gray area, but you still want to explore getting right up to the edge. What does that mean to get right up to the edge and keep it from going off when you're in the sexual act? But then you're like, I went too far. We're there. Yeah, now it's going to happen. Just kiss me. It's going to happen. I mean, that's how it goes, man. This is it's a real magical area to explore, and there's beauty in it, and this is why it's a sacred act. Okay, well, falling asleep, as it turns out, same fucking thing. Okay, everything in the universe is related. There's an edge. The only way to know where it is to go all the way and accidentally go over it, over and over. This is why it's impossible for us to truly know what death is. Because the only way to know is to go over. And there ain't no doing it again. But with the sexual act, with falling asleep, with different things of this nature, you can experiment with it consciously and say, well, I didn't make it that far that time. Maybe I could try again. And the key to it is to be sober, to be clear, to not have ideas that are bothering you. I mean, it's a fucking dream state to begin with. Who can fucking go to bed without thinking about what they got to do tomorrow? I mean, you really have to do this in a conscious way. That's fucking hard to begin with.
Yeah.
And that really is the fundamental component that gets in everybody's way. But if you can just experiment with the twilight state, if you just do that, some crazy shit will start to happen to you. You don't even have to think about the rest of it. Just hang out in the twilight state for a while. Just see what the universe says to you. That's all I did. And the first time I ended up in that state, when I knew I was there and I said, fuck, I'm here. I'm hanging out in the twilight state. I'm not falling asleep. I'm not awake. And it's weird too, because you're laying there and your body, like, I like to cross my arms when I sleep like a fucking vampire. And I'm laying there in bed and I'm going, am I awake? Yeah, I'm awake. Am I asleep? Yeah, I'm asleep. Fuck, I've never been conscious of being in this state before. Just having that revelation was mind-blowing. Like, I'm right here. I'm half asleep and half awake. And then some vibrating started. And I couldn't explain it. And I started getting goosebumps. Not on my whole body, not in any particular areas, but in such a way that I felt like something was interacting with me. And all of a sudden, this feeling of terror swept over my body. Like I was terrified because I was acknowledging that something else was in the room with me. That I had never opened my senses up to potentially feel before. What if this thing has always been here? What if it just got here now because it realizes I'm in this state? These are questions I haven't even begun to answer, but this thing started interacting with me in such a way that it was undeniable. Because I was like, okay, I'm just getting chicken skin on my leg. That's normal. That's totally normal. It's happening on my fucking shoulder. I don't understand this. And I'm in this somnambulistic state. Well, maybe that's just part of the state. That's just part of the state. That's just part of the state. Now I'm getting pressure on me. That's not part of the state. I'm uncomfortable. I don't understand what this is because it's not real pressure. It's a kind of perception you've never been aware of before. And after you read Monroe's books about what he went through when he thought he was going mad, and when you're having an experience that's identical, dude, it's fucking the number one thing he talks about getting over when you start experiencing this, the ethereal body or experimenting with it, is the vast nature of terror that comes over you. Because we are taught our entire lives to believe that this is nonsense. Man, when you start experiencing it, when you start actually experiencing it, it gets real slippery to know what's real and what isn't. So that's about as far as I'll go. But I would warn people not to fuck around with this stuff unless you're going to take it real seriously. Do your homework. do things with intention, understand who you are as a person first, make sure you know what you stand for, make sure you're an adult. Because, there's a reason they don't let people study the Kabbalah until they're 40. You have to develop physiologically before you can even know yourself. You can't start exploring components of yourself until you know yourself. So I would just say I am not a proponent of this kind of exploration. I would say be very cautious with it because it scared the living shit out of me. And I essentially just dipped my toes in the pond, and I said to myself, nope, I'm gonna fucking wait until I'm in a real comfortable station in life to do this shit. Because this shit is fucking terrifying. And it ain't no dicking around. It's not some mumbo jumbo. It's definitely not fake. This is maybe the most conscious cosmic shit we can do. Maybe. And I've had hundreds of intentional psychedelic experiences. Hundreds on acid, on mushrooms, intentionally. Like spiritual, like I did them on purpose, because I had a lot of trauma that I had to figure out how to reconcile when I was younger. And I don't even recommend that as a methodology because it tends to unhinge some people, So that's, anyway, you picked the most verbose answer question on the list.
Why do you think I asked it?
It was the most important question.
Because an extra half hour on that shit. Jesus, this guy can fucking talk forever. He may not be gay, Joe Rogan, but he's got a problem with his mouth.
Dude, it's so much fun. I love what we do.
We're blessed, man. We're blessed.
I sit here sometimes and I'm like, I can't believe that we're really doing this. Like,
I know.
It's so nuts, man. But back to that, I think I'm diving right in. I've already been practicing with it a little bit.
Listen, read the work because you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Read the work of people who've come before you. Understand that at a certain point it gets a little crazy and you're like, I can't relate to this. Fucking space people and living in towns in space and fucking, and
look,
then just be careful, man. Just
if I'm going to be the host. If I'm going to be the host of a paranormal podcast, at some point, I'm going
to have to detach from my body and go to space.
Exactly.
Exactly. Sure. Go stang.
We actually had an interview with a girl that maybe that's what was going on with her.
Yeah.
With Tessa. Maybe she was
in
this.
Can I give you some advice?
Yeah.
Use extreme caution with people who talk about these kinds of things casually.
Yeah.
If they're not afraid of them, like Monroe was, like I am, if they're just like, yeah, I talk to fucking aliens every night, talk to space. I go up there in space every day and I have tea and we talk about Jesus's footwear and his toes and why I wore sandals and we hang out in space. If there's anything I know about the nature of this universe, it's that the most important things have to be handled the most delicately in the most sacred way.
Yeah.
Don't forget that. And be careful and wary of those who don't tread that way.
I think that's a good place to end. Wise words.
Not bad.
From a wise.
Can I do some
promos? Yeah. I'm not going to bring you on here and not let you push all the 167,000 things you're working on right now. This will be another 45 minutes.
No, dude, it's going to be quick, man. It's going to be one thing.
Hey, look, I'm kidding. You take all the time you need and push your stuff because here's why. Because we love you, okay? And within that circle of love that we have, look, if we go nowhere and Maverick Mathews blows up and becomes the Joe Rogan of the esoteric, that would nothing would make me happier. Okay.
First of all, I'm throwing ropes back because it's lonely at the top.
Well, yeah,
so I'm gonna bring everybody with me, baby.
Absolutely. And that's great. That's why I want you to get there. Why you think I picked
The first thing I want to encourage everybody to do is donate to the World Economic Forum, because we have to finish this great reset. We have to finish fixing these dummies and wake everybody up. Okay. So I'm going to put me and my Uncle Klaus are going to put on our fucking magical robes and we got to fucking fix the universe.
Hey, can you say that with a German accent?
The first thing, okay, no, I'll do better, man. I'll do one better. I'll do it like Werner Herzog, okay? There's only one way we can move the world forward, and that is to donate as much of your time and listening pleasure and all of your economic satisfaction into the World Economic Forum. Because if we don't, there won't be a tomorrow any of us can believe in. You have no reason to own material possessions. We can own them for you, and you can own nothing, and you will be happy. What do you think?
You nailed it. You nailed it. I'm crying.
Oh, man.
Oh,
Okay.
man. Oh, God.
Oh, man. I love you guys so much, man. I'm so glad we have fun. And I hope that the hill people.
Yeah.
What is it? The hills have eyes. What is it?
Oh, damn. I didn't think about that, Justin. Look what you did.
I'm just pushing back, man. It's all good.
The hill folk. Hill folk. Hill folk.
Look, man, if you can't poke fun and have some fun in this reality, then what the fuck good are you,
Dude.
man? Listen,
Gosh,
You have to. You have
I just
to.
hope we had some fun. I know I got all crazy and ranty and shit. So, but listen, I just hope the whole folk appreciate this. I'm so grateful. The number one thing you can give anybody in this incarnation is your attention. And so thank you for doing that. Because I love you guys and I have a lot of fun doing this. And I know we're crazy and wicked, but we're really trying to contribute good to this world, man. And sometimes you have to temper it with a little silliness. So,
Oh, gosh, yes.
For sure. For sure.
so don't forget how we're no. Okay, so so listen, just consider visiting maverickmathews.com. You know, I did release a coffee table book. I don't have any sources of revenue other than that book. I don't put ads in my podcasts. I don't do any of that shit. Okay. And it's a lot of people just say, hey, donate, just give. I wanted to give something to you for my contribution. So I painted a bunch of paintings during my divorce of campfires because they became an expression of hope for me. And I've just spent 20 or 30 grand going through this divorce, and it's looking like I'm going to have to spend 20 or 30 more. And I don't give a shit about what I get out of it. I'm trying to get custody of my son back. It's about my baby boy. So if you have fun with me, if you want my fucking crazy lineage to continue in the future, the number one thing you can give to me is your attention. And so check out Pepper for your steak. Check out what I do. I appreciate that. But if you feel moved to make some kind of financial contribution, consider buying my coffee table book. That's it. You know, there's 2 versions right now. We have a couple copies of the signed edition left. I'm going to get you all some just because, you know, you guys mean so much to me. I want to give you guys something back. So thank you very much for having me on. And thank you to the Hill folk for your attention. And stop laughing. Stop laughing. I can see you, Justin.
Yeah.
You
I
can't
just
keep a
can't.
straight
I
face
can't.
anymore.
I can't
That's
do
good,
it.
man.
I
That
can't
means
do
we're
it.
ending on a positive note. I love you guys so much.
That's
man.
it.
We love you, dude.
Hey, brother, we love you. And we'll send you an Appalachian Intelligence sticker. That's the best we can do.
Nah, dude, it's fine. It's not about. It's not. Listen, you're giving me your attention. There's no greater contribution, man. You put me on your platform. Your platform's not nothing. It's become something, and I know that. And let's honor it, man, because it's fucking badass. People are looking for a ritual to unite them in this new future, and this is it.
Gosh, that was beautifully said.
Yeah.
That's gonna be our new slogan.
Fucking use it, man. Make t-shirts. There you go. Now you have a fucking t-shirt. I just gave you a t-shirt.
Yeah. We just got a t-shirt. We've had all kinds of t-shirt ideas on here. The only problem is they're usually way
they all
too
have
long.
penises on them. We just don't understand why they don't sell so well.
They sell great in certain communities.
Yeah, very popular. Certain times of the year, certain months. We're not sure.
Absolutely. June's a great time. All right, Maverick. We love you, brother. We love you, and we appreciate you so much again for coming on here. It's the trifecta, baby. The third time's a charm, and I think this may have been our best one yet. I had a blast. It was a lot of fun. We were able to talk about really uncomfortable topics, but do it in a way that we were still having fun. And if we've stepped on a few toes out there, I'm not sorry.
Number one, it wasn't intentional. We're not here to hurt anybody's feelings, but we are also trying to figure out what the fuck is going on, and we don't know it. We're just trying to figure it, and that comes from a place of love.
That's it.
I was laughing on the inside. I said to myself, I thought it's kind of poetic that Maverick was our first really big guest, and now we end our show by getting canceled with Maverick.
We invited that fucker on, and he got us canceled.
I got backups. We got backups.
Yeah.
We're good. You can't cancel us.
Dude, we'll do this shit by ham radio if we have to.
That's exactly right.
We can't be canceled.
I'm like Tom McDonald, baby. I'm independent. I probably shouldn't have said that. Okay, it's time to quit. All right. Maverick, we love you. Ryan, Lance, love you boys. Thankful for you guys.
Lance, always a pleasure, man. Ryan, it's great to see you guys.
You too.
And Hill folk, until next time, we'll see y'all later.